Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how to make an adorable little bunny out of gum paste. And if you see me using any tools or supplies that you need, check the link in the description below. It should be able to help you out. Now, to begin my bunny, I am going to start by making its body. I have a big old wad of white gum paste here, as you can see. And right now it's kind of ball shaped, but I'm going to start to divide it not quite in the middle, maybe about 3/4 of the way up, not even, more like 2/3 of the way up, and section it off. So I'm going to start to make kind of like a snowman, if anything else. My second lump on the top that I am separating from the bottom is not centered though. It's a little bit pulled toward the front because I'm going to make my bunny have a big caboose and like a little rounded off chest kind of thing. So you can kind of get the idea of how the shape is coming along. It looks almost like a little duck or something at this point. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stick a lollipop stick down the center of it. I am using an 8-inch stick because that's just the size I like to work with. I feel like it gives me plenty of wiggle room in case I have anything that I want to change or cut off or anything. There's plenty there for me. Now I'm going to stick it into my block of styrofoam because that will give it nice support for later on when I add the head. And I'm going to start working on the back feet. I have a piece of gum paste there, as you can see, and I've rounded it off and I am putting it up against the side of the bunny butt off. It's a little more toward the back of it though. And that's going to become the bunny's, like the knee, I guess, of the bunny's back leg. I matched up another piece. I had actually made one big piece and then cut it in half. That's why the first one you saw that little half circle sitting there. I find that's a good way to make sure your amounts are pretty even that way, So if you take one big one and cut it in half, then you should have two equal smaller sizes, right? Makes sense. Geometry. See, you never thought it would pay off. All right, I'm going to go ahead and make the back feet of my bunny now. Kind of gonna make, I don't know, like an ice cream cone sort of shape here. It's going to be narrow and tapered and then kind of flare out into a ball at the end there. I use my knife blade to make the two indentations. As you saw, I roll it up and over so the toes are now separated. I cut it off at an angle on the other side so it'll just wedge nicely under the body. Tuck it in. You got a back foot. Do it again. It's making kind of like, I guess more like a chicken leg or something, a turkey leg. I'm using my knife to make the two little separations for the toes. It's flared in a big round foot in the front. Got to make sure they're the same size. Gonna cut off the edge like a wedge at the back. It's still a little too long, so I'm going to cut off a little bit more. And again, make sure it tapers in, flares down. You don't want it to be too short though, because it is still a rabbit after all. We need those quintessential little big back feet. Okay, once you get your back feet going, I've made a circle, kind of flattened it, and stuck it on the bunny's butt because our bunny needs a tail. And there we go. Bunny's got a tail. He's coming along already, so far pretty good here. This is going to be the fur that goes down the front of the bunny's chest. It is just kind of a loose triangle shaped. I rolled it out long, as you can see. Trim off the top because it was all crooked and it was bothering me. And I just have it kind of long and thin, and it goes down over the chest and down actually onto the belly as well. You don't have to add this part, or you could make it shorter or thicker or whatever you want. This is just what I did. I'm using the back of my veining tool to make a couple little furry marks on the sides so that it's not all nice and smooth. And then I'm using the small ball to push up on those marks that I made to kind of separate them. So now it's not just, a straight cut with lines in it. It's actually segmented a bit. It's more of a scallop shape, see? Okay, now I am going to add a little bit of water because I never did that to connect the feet. So that's what I was doing there. I figured it's important to show that you do have to put this stuff together eventually, permanently. All right, these are going to be the front feet. I rolled out my big old piece of gum paste there, nice and long, and I get asked this question a ton, and I try to answer it every time. If I don't, I'm sorry. But most of the time, I say to everyone, use gum paste, right? You can use fondant in certain situations if the decoration is flat, if it's going to be laying down, if you're not worried about that kind of thing. If you need it standing up in 3D, like what I'm doing here, you could again use fondant. You'd have to add a CMC powder or Tylose powder or something like that to it to turn it basically into gum paste. It's more affordable, but if you've worked with both, you might find that the texture can be a little different. The consistency can be a little different. I don't know, I'm a big gum paste fan because it's literally what it was designed for. But if you're only doing a decoration here or there, it's more expensive. So, fondant and CMC powder might be the better way to go for you. Now that I've finished my little rant there, I'm going to tell you I am making the other front arm now. It's the same as the legs, only smaller. It has kind of like the big ball at the end for the paw, the smaller, thinner arm. It's going to go up and wrap around, and I'm nestling them in that little, I guess, waistline, I guess you could say, of the bunny, how it kind of tapers in there. That's where I'm resting the arms and the paws, and I have it cut at an angle so it goes up into the shoulder, and I'm also pressing it into the shoulder so it really blends and merges in. And it doesn't stick out because our bunny does not have, quarterback or football player shoulders. Now for the head. Okay, I started with a ball. I pressed in with my thumbs, as you saw, on either side there. Kind of like I'm making a skull or something. I used my rolling pin to make two big depressions like that. I'm just kind of going over it again and again. And I'm leaving space down the middle so my bunny now has kind of like a bridge of his nose. I'm using the big ball on my ball tool to press eye sockets because those big divots were not eye sockets. They were just, eye indentations just to make my bunny look more bunny-ish. And I'm going to end up filling in the eye sockets later though, the smaller ones I made. Those two lines I made with my other veining tool, and that I'm really accentuating here with my proper veining tool, is going to become the bunny's nose. Now I'm going to kind of like press in and lift up, and I'm doing that little line that comes down from the bunny's mouth and kind of flaring it out a little. See, here I am, I'm pressing in and then lifting up under the nose, so now the bunny's nose is actually coming out a little bit. It's a little bit more separated and three-dimensional from the rest of his mouth. And you're going to see I'm going to use the veining tool again to just make him a happy little bunny. I'm giving him a smile. I'm pressing to the side to make him have like little cheek dimples where his smile is just so big and so expressive. Yes. So yeah, there he is. Little bunny with his little bunny face. There we go. Just make sure the lines are nice and deep because gum paste does kind of rebound a little bit. Now, once the head has had a little bit of time to set, just carefully press it onto your lollipop stick. And then time to start filling in those eyeballs. I'm taking little balls of white gum paste and filling in those little sockets that I made. And I'm going to give him blue eyes because he has very little color going on. So I want to make him a little more colorful, a little more springy. And he was looking a little cockeyed there, but, it got fixed. I just put little balls of blue gum paste on there that I had pressed down on. Kind of make him into a little more of flat circles. But when I put him into place and use my ball tool there, I just press them even flatter, and there you go. See? Cute, right? Not too shabby. Now I'm putting a little bit of water inside his nose, and I'm going to take some light pink, roll it really, really thin into thin little beanies there, and I'm going to put it up and underneath his nose. Remember, we used the veining tool to lift upward on his nose. Now I'm going to use that pink so it's kind of tucked up and in, but it's going to be under. So I'm going to use my nail, the back of my fingernail, and press upward. So it's not going to just show. It's going to be tucked away, as it were. I just liked how it looked. I thought it looked a little nicer that way. For his eyelids here, I took my white gum paste, used my circle cutter to cut out a circle. I cut just like a little crescent out of that, just like a little top part, and then just capped off his eyes, you see? So just gives him a little bit more of a relaxed look rather than the big-eyed, alarmed look that he was sporting a moment ago. And again, using my ball tool, my veining tool, just shape it right into the curve of the eye. I am being careful to not overlap the blue of his iris because I feel like I'm going to lose too much of his eye, make him look sleepy if I do that. I have some black gum paste now that I rolled really thin just on my hand. I'm using my finger, real nice and skinny, just to outline his eyelid. I'm not necessarily trying to make this bunny a boy or a girl, but there's a lot of white going on, so to make it so it stands out more, I decided to give a little black eyelashes there for the top lid. I'm adding some black balls now to the iris to make the pupils, just using my ball tool again to press it out into a nice circle so that now my bunny is a little bit more anatomically correct. There you go. All right, now I'm going to make bunny's ears. I have white gum paste that I rolled, kind of between my fingers, you saw me do, so that it's thinner at the ends and thicker in the center, you see? I cut them off so they're the same size. And now I'm using just the handle of my paintbrush and pressing down in the center. And then I'm following the edge of the one side of the ear so that it like is straight on the inside, you see, and kind of pooches out in the center where that fatter area was before. And I'm just pressing along that outer side. I left the inside where it's straight more so alone so that I could add a little piece of dried spaghetti like that. Run it right up that thicker center part, or the thicker inside part of the ear. And now I'll be able to attach the bunny's ears to his head, and it'll be nice and steady and sturdy. And again, just using the back of my paintbrush, so there's nothing fancy there. I'm going to add some pink to the bunny's ears, so I rolled again a long thin piece there with a little fatter in the center. I'm using again the handle of my paintbrush to roll as like a little mini roller just to flatten it out, so as you can see it's kind of triangular shaped there once it's all said and done. I'm going to put that piece right inside the bunny's ear, and you see how it kind of sticks out into the center? I'm going to make it so that it goes up against the straight part of the ear, and it just kind of gets a little fatter and wider as it goes out to follow that curve of the ear that I left before, if this is making any sense at all. At least you can see what I'm talking about. So again, it's like up against the one side of the ear and just kind of flares out to follow the curve outward of the ear itself. It doesn't go all the way up. I didn't want it to. You can if you want. I just didn't feel like I wanted that. I wanted a little more subtle. And once it's all said and done, I'm going to use, that's my cake tester, by the way. It was my cake tester my husband got me because I like snowmen. So it has a little snowman on it that melted because it was testing cakes in the oven. But anyway, I still love it. And once you have those pilot holes drilled, then you stick your spaghetti sticks in there with a little bit of water. Hopefully your ears aren't too heavy and will make it droop and fall off. This little bunny's ears were heavy, so I had to brace it with a dish towel for a little while so they could set. Once they set, then I came back and added a couple little white highlights to Mr. or Mrs. Bunny's eyes, or whatever this bunny is, the bunny's eyes, like that. Now Bunny's got little sparkling eyes, and you can stop there or you can keep going. This I just did for fun because I figured why not? I made a little ladybug. So I took a ball of red gum paste, I cut off the one end, so now it's like a round piece with a flat end. I put a little ball of black onto that flat end and then just mushed it and pressed it so that it merged up with the rest of the red. So it all kind of went together. I used my knife to make a little seam mark down the center, and then I just started adding some little black balls of gum paste to make the little spots on my ladybug. I put one in the center, a couple on each side. I believe a traditional ladybug has 7 spots. Mine has 6 because I made too big of a dot, but oh well. I added a couple little dots of white on either side of the black piece of the head there. And again, this is just for fun. Why not? But if you do, you can put it right on his nose, and there it is. There's your little bunny. Good for Easter, good for spring, good for bunnies in general. So yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because it does help me out in return. I have a lot of other videos out there, so take a look when you have the time. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.